من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة وتلك حدود الله ومن يتعد حدود الله فقد ظلم نفسه لا تدري لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا فإذا بلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف وأشهدوا ذوي عدل منكم وأقيموا الشهادة لله ذلكم يوعظ به من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا واللائي يئسن من المحيض من نسائكم إن ارتبتم فعدتهن 3 أشهر واللائي لم يحضن وأولاة الأحمال أجلهن أن يضعن حملهن ومن يتق الله يجعل له من أمره يسرا ذلك أمر الله أنزله إليكم ومن يتق الله يكفر عنه سيئاته ويعظم له أجرا أسكنوهن من حيث سكنتم من وجدكم ولا تضاروهن لتضيقوا عليهن وإن كن أولات حمل فأنفقوا عليهن حتى يضعن حملهن فإن أرضعن لكم فآتوهن أجورهن وأتمروا بينكم بمعروف وإن تعاسرتم فسترضع له أخرى لينفق ذو سعة من سعته ومن قدر عليه رزقه فلينفق مما آتاه الله لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما آتاها سيجعل الله بعد عسر يسرا وكأين من قرية عتت عن أمر ربها ورسله فحاسبناها حسابا شديدا وعذبناها عذابا نكرا فذاقت وبال أمرها وكان عاقبة أمرها خسرا أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا فاتقوا الله يا أولي الألباب الذين آمنوا قد أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا رسولا يتلو عليكم آيات الله مبينات ليخرج الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات من الظلمات إلى النور ومن يؤمن بالله ويعمل صالحا يدخله جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا قد أحسن الله له رزقا الله الذي خلق 7 سماوات ومن الأرض مثلهن يتنزل الأمر بينهن لتعلموا أن الله على كل شيء قدير وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء.
Assalamu alaikum. As the gender war rages on, in order to keep the peace, we must discuss the exact facts. Welcome to Exactly. I'm your host, Saudi Imam. Remove your shoes. Enter upon your right foot upon the right state of mind, bi'idhnillah. Topic: fear and anger. The best modern day vetting tools. Now, alhamdulillah, we have the privilege of having Brother Black Mind on with us. So inshallah, I'll try to bring him in at this moment. Let me see if I can bring him in, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. See if I can inshallah, I'll try to bring him in. I'm not sure if I have to Ya akhi, if you can hear me, Brother Akili, Black Mind, if you can hear me, inshallah ta'ala.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
I'm trying to bring you in. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. How do I sound?
Okay. You sound good, mashallah. Okay, I'll just turn you up a little bit. So I was trying to bring you in, but you have your screen darkened, of course. Can you hear me still?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's my driver's license photo.
Okay. Well, I can't.
I'm joking. I turned my camera off.
I can't see anything. Matter of fact, I'm actually trying to bring you in to the chat.
It says
Si-
on my screen. It's on my screen. It says on the air. You're in the broadcast.
okay, okay, alhamdulillah. So, but I was trying to bring you on, you know, side by side with me, so to show that there was indeed a guest, you know. But alhamdulillah, for some reason, it's not doing that like we did last time. So, uh, I guess we'll just move on, inshallah ta'ala, not to belabor. Because sometimes, in this digital age, a lot of the podcasts are, you'll see them working just to do the podcast. But we're going to go ahead and get started so we don't look so disorganized. SubhanAllah. Nevertheless, I am putting forward that fear and anger are the best vetting tools in this modern day experience that we're going through. Fear and anger. And some may disagree that no. I have 100 question, resume type thing that I need them to fill out, and that is the proper vetting tool. Brother Ali, Baba Ali with Half Our Deen, very popular matchmaking site, Islamic Muslim matchmaking site, and he does a clubhouse talk about this vetting and things like that. Brother Abu American put out a vetting guide. He has a vetting guide that he put out. So this vetting is something that's very popular. People are falling into traps. They're falling into traps, not choosing correctly, not asking the proper questions, so on and so forth. So these people put out vetting guides. Abu American, his really took off. Rollo Tomasi has, I forgot what he called his. Do you know what Rollo Tomasi's is?
I know who he is. Yes, sir. I've heard some of him. I've heard him speak and seen a few of his videos. I know that he and Abu American have gone
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, yeah, several times on a podcast. He has one called "No More Mr. Nice Guy." There's other ones written by other people. So vetting is really, really important before you step into a relationship. So my contention is what? I say fear and anger are better vetting guides than those books and that 100 question questionnaire. I say it's better. Now, this is what, let me put out, I'm trying to figure, I don't know if you all can hear those alerts, but nevertheless, now when they say the natural responses to fear, people say is what? They say it's fight or flight. Most times they leave off one. One is called khud'a, or deception. When a person cowers down just enough to escape, or a person cowers down just enough for you to turn your attention, and they hit you over the head with a rock, that's called khud'a, or deception. Some brothers that I know, more knowledgeable than myself, call the third category nifaq. They call it hypocrisy. I don't like to use nifaq because nifaq is always negative and it's always a harsh word. But Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-harbu khud'a," that war is deception. And yes, the Muslims do practice deception in war. According to Imam An-Nawawi and Riyadh al-Salihin, he mentioned that as one of the few times that a person can lie, which is in a war theater. Okay? So they say fight or flight. I say khud'a. Some say nifaq. I don't like that. It's too harsh. I say fight, flight, or deception. Okay? Now, when a person is under fear, we'll get to anger later, inshallah, but when a person is under fear, and jump in anytime you feel, Akhi, please. Appreciate you. So
Thank you, sir.
he said, when a person's under fear, they say one response is flight. Now, flight is a desperate act, right? And flight
Yes.
is feminine. Flight is no, so flight is reactionary. Put it like that. Flight is reactionary, and flight, excuse me, is feminine. What happens when there's a loud boom or some scary noise or somebody jumps out behind, a dark space or behind a corner? A woman naturally will run. She'll be startled, then she'll run and try to find a safe space. That is a feminine reaction to fear. Okay, flight, right? You agree with me on that? Is that a feminine reaction to
That
fear? Flight?
flight is not necessarily. That's more so a self-preservation instinct. It's something that there are times you have to do that. I mean, if you hear lightning strike, or let's say you hear the thunderclap, and next thing you know, a tree is on fire next to you, and you felt your heart stop from the electrical impulse, you'd have to flee. You really wouldn't have time to do anything else.
Okay, well,
So I
when
don't.
I
I
say
don't.
feminine, I'm talking about in regards to women. In regards to
Oh,
women, it's natural for them to adopt flight when in fear. That's my contention.
yeah. I see. Yeah. Yes, it's natural for them. I see it as something that's natural for anyone if they're
Yeah.
surprised, if it's a sudden thing. But yeah, I have noticed that they're more apt to run, and they're also more apt to blame men for doing the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go to fight. Excuse me. Let's go to deception. Okay. What I like to call deception. Some use harder terms. So deception is tactical. I like to call that tactical because it's not a reaction. Okay. It's something that's tactical. You're trying to uh, take them, get them off guard so you can escape, so you can actually, you know, you can actually accomplish flight, or you're trying to catch them off guard where they turn away their focus and you bust them upside the head with something heavy. I see this deception also in regards to women as tactical and feminine. What do you think about that?
The deception. Well, I see deception as feminine and tactical, even when they're not afraid.
Okay.
I meaning I view them doing this. I grew up watching them do this, even when they weren't afraid. I watched them do this just because their friends did it, and that's how they got social points. So I mean, the fear that seemed to drive that when they did it was more so a fear of other women socially killing them or socially ostracizing them.
Okay.
They did it to get points with other women, but I didn't necessarily see them take on these tactics out of fear. In all honesty, I mean, to
Okay.
give an example, you know how there's always growing up, there's that girl that's always ready to fight boys, and usually her hair is a mess. Um, but then when another girl wants to fight her and that other girl is the same size or bigger, she doesn't take on any tactic except running. There's no more deception. She's not willing to engage.
Okay.
She's going to stay in the classroom where the teachers are, or she's going to stay on the bus if the girl's calling her off the bus, or she'll stay inside.
Okay.
But we know that type of lady.
Okay.
Where I grew up, that was pretty common actually. That's how a lot of the girls were. When I went to middle school, that's how a lot of them were.
Okay.
There were a few girls that, let's say, they had brothers, and they didn't think it was okay to just mistreat men any kind of way. Um, but the bulk of them didn't really think much of it. And so when these few girls would fight behind the way that a guy was treated by a girl, then the other girls wouldn't want to take on these girls because they knew that they didn't have that they didn't have that carte blanche. If a girl fights a guy and he wins, then she's still not vilified for losing. But if
Okay.
he fights her and she wins, then she's the hero for winning. So she
Okay.
has everything to gain, nothing to lose. Well, what I saw was that once you remove that element from them, and that's in the form of having to fight another woman, they turn around and they flee. They don't engage in deception. they engage in just running because they actually
Okay.
are scared.
So it's
I
flight.
didn't really, yeah, I saw them take flight and not fight.
Okay.
Um, so maybe they would. I mean, I could imagine them engaging in deception as a last resort, sure. I just didn't see them engaging in that when it was pretty much either you show that you're brave or you run like a coward. When they were given those two choices, they pretty much ran all the time.
Okay. Now, the last one that they say is a natural reaction to fear. We find this in the reality, you know. They say fight. Now, fight, in regards to women, is really a desperate act. When a woman is put in a corner where she has to fight, or a situation where she feels she has to fight, it's a desperate act, and it's also masculine. Do you agree or disagree?
Generally, I do see fighting as a masculine action, something that women do only if they have to, and I don't blame them for it. Yeah, I do see it as a masculine action more so. Yes.
Okay. So the first two are generally feminine, flight and also deception. And the last one, again, my contention is that the last one being fight is deemed masculine. And you have to put a woman in a desperate situation for her to want to knuckle up naturally, because she will protect her young. She will protect, certain things. A guy grab her purse, she don't just let it go. Sometimes she'll tug a war with that guy until he pulls out a weapon or until he cocks back that fist, you know. It depends on what kind of space or what kind of frame she's in, whether or not she's going to just, acquiesce and just let him take her belongings or what have you. But nevertheless, this fear, to put a woman in a situation of fear, then you would know what frame she is in, because what happens is that deception is the order of the day. Deception, from makeup to padded bras to and I learned this, actually it's crazy, because in my business I had hired a lesbian one time in my business. She was just a girl from the hood near the masjid. She wanted to work, so I put her to work, and she's working, and she didn't dress like a guy, she didn't dress like a girl, but kind of like neutral. But nevertheless, she's working, and this lady passed by. It's a Spanish girl passed by. She said, "She ain't shaped like that." And I turned around. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "She ain't shaped like that. That's those pants. Those pants make that. Those pants do that." And I'm like, I didn't initiate the conversation. I didn't ask for the conversation, but I learned something that day. Deception is in the clothing. The cut of the clothing, they are snatching them up really tight and making themselves a shape that they wouldn't ordinarily have. So deception has become the order of the day regarding dress, regarding makeup, so on and so forth. I mean, that becomes the order of the day. The breast pads, they got these panties called booty pop, panties, and of course you got the waist trainers, and there's a lot of deception happening. The nails, the toes, a lot of deception is happening, and that's really the order of the day. So and that is not a response to any fear, except that they fear not to be chosen. They fear not to be seen as desirable, so on and so forth. Albeit that they are trying to attract the random. They're not really trying to attract their husband, not really trying to attract a husband, their husband, or a husband, period. They are trying to attract the random. And that's where they get their how do you say, that's how they get their confidence. That's how they gain that self-worth. When a woman says, "I know my worth," it's probably because some random dude done simped up and told her, "Oh, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful," and her husband hasn't said it in 3 months. You know what I'm saying? So again, deception, I find that to be the order of the day. And they're not practicing this deception except for the fear of not being accepted. What do you think?
I would if gambling were halal, I would have bet money on exactly what you just said. They do go through a lot, and it is very deceptive. They engage in the exact same levels of deception for which they would blame and never forgive men. Not only that, but then as a man, if you don't engage in certain levels of deception and you tell them, well, these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses, then they turn around and they either assess you as being too arrogant or not having enough self-confidence. They're not going to assess you as being in any balanced middle that's healthy, because that's a positive assessment on your part in your favor. And they try not to engage in that unless they're already biased to take you on. I do believe that they are pretty much, I honestly believe that they're following the whispers of Shaitan. Even if they're Muslim and they do these things, I believe they're following the whispers of Shaitan. Because who else would tell who else can and wants to tell an entire demographic of human beings to engage in deception that they would never tolerate from someone else? And they all listen. So I do believe that it is deception. I do believe that we men should hold them accountable for it. I also understand that what they want to do when they're practicing all of this, like you said, they're not really looking for the husband. They're looking just to be chosen at random. They're looking for every man's attention,
Yeah.
even though they only want maybe 15% of men that they see. And in the West, it may be as few as 7% of men that they see that they even find attractive. They still want every man to select them. And it's not even really because they want these men. They want the attention because it validates their ego. And they also want the attention because that attention gives them access to the men's resources without them having to engage in the work for which they marched for the right to engage in the 60s and 70s anyway. So really, it's about taking resources and attention from most men, and then of course reproducing with with a small number of men, and they're pretty much using deception in order to engage in that. And if you notice that it's exactly everything that they do is something for which they would blame a man for doing it. So if you're a man and you actually wore shoes designed to increase your height, even if it's by an inch, and they find this out, they're going to say something about it. And when they engage in deception, they wear high heels, and you can tell that it's high heels. And then the funny thing is they'll use the high heels as a reason to raise their height requirements by an inch. They'll say, I like to wear heels, so he's got to be tall. Who told you you have to like to wear heels? I mean, I know that you don't really like to wear them because I've listened to women complain about wearing
Yes.
heels. And not only that, but it's the deceptions in which they engage. See, these are the deceptions that we can easily identify if we think about. The truth is, they engage in more deceptions all the time because they're so busy vetting men. So they do things like wear high heels and then insist on walking through a dangerous block to get to the restaurant that they want to get to, as an example. They do that because you're with them. They got high heels. Somebody starts following you. She can't run. She cannot. And she's doing that because she would much rather see. She wants to put you in a dangerous position unnecessarily in order to test you. And these are games you probably know about even better than I do, but I know these games exist. So underneath the deception we could spot just by thinking about it, there has to be another layer that we're not really supposed to know about. And when I started observing their behavior, just in college, really, in high school, I started to suspect it. But for me, just in college, I started observing certain behaviors and I realized they were always doing the same things. They were always taking unnecessary risk at the man's expense and then acting like it was something completely unrelated to assessing how he's going to deal with this risk. And so then it just shows you that the deception goes a lot deeper than what we expected. That's really it.
You know, speaking about the heels, uh, if I'm looking at a marriage profile and it says, because I'm 5'10", 5'9", or 5'10" on a good day, you know, and if she says she's 5'8", you know, I chalk her up at 5'10" because of the heel situation. Now, speaking of heels, I'm not. I know that's one of the things they use to attract aphrodisiac type thing. Men see heels, they get excited, especially red heels, right? If they got clear bottoms, then that's a problem. But nevertheless, now the heel issue, heels destroy toes. I'm a foot man. I don't appreciate heels. If she is in some sensible shoes, I would appreciate that more because that's part of my aphrodisiac. You know what I'm saying? A woman's feet. So again, I don't appreciate heels for that particular reason. For that particular reason. Now, one thing, when you were talking, something came to mind that you really didn't say directly, but I've seen young women, attractive women, childbearing age, in the beginnings of childbearing age, even when there is a cold front here, there is biting cold weather. They'll walk out with no jacket, arms out, doing this. They'll walk out with a little skirt. They'll walk out open toe shoes. I'm like, wow, everything they got on look like it's worth $10, and I mean altogether $10, and it's cold outside. And if that was of course that was my daughter, I'd lose my mind. But I'm saying if that was a female relative of mine, one of my wards, under my jurisdiction, I would be like, what is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? What is wrong with you? Why are you out not covered properly in this type of weather? Who are you trying to attract? Who are you trying to attract? And when you attract that individual that you're trying to attract, do you want what is the natural repercussion of attracting that type of individual? So again, it doesn't make any sense. All of it, we talk about fear. The fear of being not seen as attractive, the fear of being not wanted by the one that they want. They want to attract every Tom, Dick, and Harry, even the guy that they say ill, the guy that says something they say ill, even that guy, they want that guy to find them attractive, but in his own sphere, in his own zone. You know why? Because they show their bodies to that guy. Now, I'm going to tell you something that happened. We went to a restaurant called Basili here in San Antonio, and I was with Brother Amo Yusuf and a few other brothers, right? So we're sitting, Amo Jeremiah, you met him on the podcast. So we're in the restaurant, and we finish eating, we're leaving. A man came in earlier, he looked like he works out, he's kind of fit, he sits down. Okay. Now he's waiting for somebody, obviously. So we're leaving, and I get to the door, Brother Jeremiah, someone held the door because a woman is walking in, and I flashed, looked at her, and I saw it was two eye full of vagina. She had on jeans, bruh. And she had them snatched up so high, she might not be able to have kids in the future, And I told the brothers, I say, man, that's the first, I'm gonna be clean. I say, that's the first vagina I've seen all day. And of course, all the brothers just bust out laughing, I said, that was the first vagina I've seen all day. It was so obvious. They say, brother, what are you doing looking? Well, the first look is excuse, the second look is from Shaitan. I got my one look because it was too obvious. There was nowhere in that parking lot I can look, I didn't see vagina. Let's put it like that. There was nowhere. Yeah, her vagina was everywhere.
It wasn't, in that case, it wasn't on you. You didn't wake up and leave the house that morning expecting somebody to be showing the genitals out in public.
Yeah, because Basili is not Italian for vagina. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't go there to see vagina. But the whole point is, who was she trying to attract? The dude in the restaurant waiting on her? Or everybody from her house to her car, from the parking lot to the building, to the restaurant. Who was she trying to attract? Or she just was unconscious, Was she unconscious?
No. Well, it's never unconscious. If we men are held accountable for them leaving the house with that sort of appearance, then that's, and think about it, that's her leaving the house with that appearance on. And if you're at home, you're accountable if you knew that she left the house that way. And I'm accountable if I know that my daughters leave the house looking that way, or my wife, or my sister, or aunt, or mom, um, that means that they're definitely going to be accountable. It's not subconscious. This is a deception in which they engage in mass. And to be honest with you, when you hear me say that I will never forgive the lying and the deception of the gender, it is because this is a mass deception in which they engage. Well, some just want to look a particular way when they go out. No, they want the attention of men that they don't want. They want more attention than they want men. And that's because what they're looking to do is to get resources from men whom they don't want, men they don't want, but they still want the resources. What they're pretty much doing is just saying, well, if I can get the attention, then I get the resources too, and I don't have to bend over his couch.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. And in this way, they can sit up and say, well, now that I've gotten these many guys supplying resources and attention that's above the belt, then now I don't even have to be careful about who I choose to consummate a marriage with, if you want to put it in polite terms.
Yeah.
When they scratch the itch down below the belt, they don't have to be even as careful, because there are other men who are going to take on some of these repercussions. Even if it's a bunch of guys who are individually taking on a little bit, she'll still have, one guy that can fix the plumbing, and someone else that can paint, and someone else that's good for babysitting, and that might be the one she sticks for child support later on. But the point is that she can engage in a dual mating strategy. All of these things that Allah told them not to do and told us not to approve of, they're all interconnected to each other. And if we have an enemy that's invisible and he can whisper directly into our subconscious minds and sound like our own thoughts when he does it, then what is he going to tell them to do? Because lineage is important. Lineage is one of the 6 sacred things of the Muslim. Well, then his enemy is going to sit up and tell her, listen, you go ahead and bend over this guy's couch. And then you call this other guy up for the babysitting. You call this other guy up to write the letters of recommendation to get your kid into a good school later. You call this other guy up and let him or ask him to let you use his address to get your kid into a better school. Call this other guy up to take him to and from school. You see, that's what he's going to tell them to do.
I'm a victim of that. I married a sister looked like Kevin Hart in the face, and she act like she was she was somebody else, that didn't look like Kevin Hart. But anyway, nevertheless, 2 babies before me, the first baby by I think a thug or something, some type of thug dude, So he wasn't stable. He was a nomad, in and out of prison. Second dude was in the military. Okay, both Kafirs, Second dude was in the military. No child support from the thug, no child support from the guy, even in the military, which that's medical benefits, that's all kind of stuff, right? No child support. Came across me, Mr. Assalamu alaikum, and she was Muslim, and came across me. She said, that's my son, alhamdulillah, whatever. So she came across me, I get put on child support. No child support from the thug, didn't want no child support even from the army dude. Put me, I guess I was the most stable thing she ever met. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up.
It's also that you were probably the least deserving to be put onto that.
Exactly.
And there is an anti-moral component to the way that they're now encouraging each other. Now we hear them encouraging each other to be as not just immoral, but as anti-moral as possible. But you have to think that before social media, even before the internet, they had their own internet. And comedians used to joke about this back in the 80s and 90s, about how they all seem to have the same assessment of the same men. You take one out on the date, and she just doesn't really like the date, and the next thing you know, you're on a do not date list in other countries.
Yeah.
They used to joke about this, and I actually heard a comedian. This is back when the Soviets were still in Afghanistan, and the U.S. was helping Afghanistan out. Right before the Soviets withdrew, I was a little kid, and one of my closest friends at that middle school was from Afghanistan. And I remember this comedian saying, he was a Caucasian American fellow talking about how they all had the same idea. and that he said you go on one date and she doesn't like the movie, and the next thing you know, you're on a don't date list in Afghanistan. He used Afghanistan as an example back then. It was much funnier.
Yeah.
But the thing I began to pay attention to was that these women assessed men the same way. And I was a kid, so I was watching middle school girls assess boys the same way, even in different environments where the girls didn't know each other. And so, and then they started doing this in my case as well. But what winds up being the case is that there is an anti-moral component to it. And back in back in '99 and 2000, I'm gonna tell you how bad it got. My own mother, even though I said something similar and my mother didn't like it when I said it, my mom told me the same thing in a different conversation. She told me that she had to pay her hairdresser to open a salon up about twice a month, to open it up at outside of the normal hours of operation, because these young girls are starting to go in to the hair salons getting their hair done, and they were talking to each other and telling each other to do the worst, nastiest things, meanest things to the least deserving men. And that they were so nasty and blatant and brazen with these attitudes that the older women knew that if they tried to talk sense into these young girls, they were going to be pinned down. And if they didn't get their faces cut, they were at least going to walk out of there bald headed. And I mean bald like Michael Jordan bald. My mom was saying, son, you don't know how bad it is out here. I'm telling you, you need to leave this one particular girl alone, because these girls are bound to be friends of hers. At least one of them is, and they're telling each other to do some just horrible things. And it burns me up, and I'm going to get into a fight one day. An old woman, I'm going to get into a fight if I keep going at the hours they're going. Well, the thing was, when I later said, okay, women are assessing men the same way. Most women want the same few men. And that's why some guys are always succeeding, and then other guys spend a lot of time single and not dating. Well, she didn't like that. My dad didn't either. But she had already said something. She'd already said the same thing previously, that they tell each other how to choose which men they actually want to be with, and how to choose which men are going to pay the consequences, pay the price. In other words, which men do the breeding and which men do the feeding. And it's an amoral component. They actually ostracize each other for honesty and morality. So when this was happening to you, and by the way, we're pretty much all victims of this. We're raised to be victims. We're taught to be. The society socializes us to be victims like this. And the same way we're socialized to be victims, they socialize each other to be the victimizers. If this lady that looked like Kevin Hart in the face said to her friends that she was not going to do something like this to you, she would have been ostracized. She better not say something like that. She better not talk about how you don't deserve to be put on child support for another man's kids. And since you're taking care of her as a wife, she needs to bend over that couch when you tell her to. She's not going to say something like that, because saying things that are just fair to men get them socially ostracized, and they get called all kinds of names. And you know, in middle school, they can't stand to be slut shamed, even when they're not. They just can't stand to be slut shamed. It's the same thing, the adult version of it. They're getting slut shamed for not taking advantage of guys with a sense of responsibility.
I have
That's
I have an example from middle school that it's gross, but it needs to be told, because if times today are worse, I was in middle school in 81, 82, 83, 80, maybe even. So, uh, and this incident was happening. There was a girl, forgot her name. Uh, she, after school, would take home 3 and 4 guys to her parents' house. Now, of course, she had a single mom at work trying to make the bills meet. For some reason, ain't with the dad. Girl named Angela. So she goes home with these 3, 4 guys all the time. I was never one of them. I was never one of them. She caught me on the stairs. Now, I was known to be, a ladies' boy, not a man yet, but a ladies' boy. And so she saw me on the stairs and said, "Hey, why you never go home with me?" I was like, I started to throw up in her face. I'm like, man, you got me messed up. She said, what are you, a homosexual? She called me something. I forgot the term we used back then. And but nevertheless, the brother's going to break away. Inshallah, brother Black Mind is going to break away, and he'll be right back, inshallah, after Fajr, because it is indeed Fajr time, where he is. So he'll be back, inshallah, shortly. Alhamdulillah. So nevertheless, I'll finish the story. So she going home with 3 or 4 different boys, almost different boys. Some got in and got triple service and quadruple service. But nevertheless, she cornered me on the steps like, why you don't go home with me? I say, man, I ain't going home with you. You disgust me, And she said, what are you, I don't know what, I don't know if she used the P word, the F word, homosexual. I don't know what she called me. But the response I gave her was that I'll knock you down these stairs. Say it again. I'll knock you down these stairs. She was mad that I didn't partake in her smorgasbord. I didn't partake in her buffet. What are you, Golden Corral? What are you? I didn't partake. I had no desire to do so. And I've never been that type of person. But nevertheless, we're talking about fear. And she had an anxiety attack because I never was of the guys that went home with her. I was never of those guys. And that's, like I say, it's gross, but it's real to life. Now, that's back in the early 80s. Imagine how things are now. Imagine how things are now. If we have daughters in public school and we have, sons in public school, and this is at middle school age. These are 11, 12, 13-year-olds, This is a problem. Back then, and it's even more of a problem now because now there's more access. Every phone is a computer. You can type any filth that you like in Google, and Google will serve you that filth. Whatever came across your mind, whatever Shaitan whispered to you, you can Google it, and Shaitan Google will serve your desires. I'm saying, Google will serve your desires. So again, with this being said, this is the aspect of fear, and alhamdulillah, the brother contributed much to it. When a woman is in fear, if she practices deception in order to reach a safe space, or to the person is distracted so she can get away, or the person distracted so she can hit him in the head with something, I consider that tactful, and it's tactful, and it's feminine. Okay. If a woman is in fear and she attempts to just straight get away, she attempts flight, I consider that reactionary, and also feminine. And when a woman is in fear and she chooses to fight out of desperation, then she is put in a masculine situation. And if she chooses to fight just of her own accord, then she is herself masculine. That's my contention. Now, I said fear and anger are the best vetting tools for the modern day, or the best modern day vetting tools. Put them in a fear situation, put them in an anger situation, and see their true nature. They say that alcohol brings out honesty. They say you get the drunk uncle at the barbecue, the family barbecue, and he'll tell you everything was going on. There's a joke where the family is sitting around the Thanksgiving table. And when I said Thanksgiving table, then this family is kuffar, okay? So they're sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and guess what happens? The girl says, "Grandma, can you please pass the mashed potatoes to my daddy?" So the grandma passes the mashed potatoes to her uncle. Subhanallah. She passed the mashed potatoes over to her uncle. She say, "But grandma, I said to give them to my daddy." The grandma said, "I know what the hell I did."
Oh Lord, she said that ain't your uncle, that's your daddy.
SubhanAllah. That's what's up. That's what's up. So people that are angry will be honest. You know, people that are in fear. This is what the problem with the torture tactics that the kuffar use on Muslims, that the kuffar taught the Muslims to use on each other. You don't get honesty, you get desperation, and you don't always get the good information. Okay, so you can't torture someone into, you can't torture someone into giving you the truth. You'll get whatever you want. Okay, so again, with the fear, women fear not being chosen. Chosen by who? Randoms. Yes, they want that 10%er. Some of them want the 1%er, delusional, but some want the 10%er. Delusional, another level of delusion, little less than 1%er, but another level of delusion. They want that, but they want to be seen by every Tom, Dick, and Harry. If they didn't, why didn't the woman at the Basili restaurant invite the dude to her apartment to see her vagina? Why did she bring it to the parking lot? Why did she bring her whole vagina into the restaurant? Why did she do that? She wanted to be seen by every single body, every single person, and she want that guy, that guy's going to get the prize, but we all got the treat. He's going to get the prize, but we all got the treat, and that's a problem. So that's fear. Did you have anything else to add to fear, Akhi, before we move on, inshallah?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention before I forget is that guy won't even get the prize, because once everybody can see the treatment, then the prize is no longer a prize. I saw this, and I realized the importance of this when I married a Munakaba in Northern Africa. Of course, the conventional wisdom amongst the disbelievers and even so-called progressive Muslims is that a woman wears niqab when she's not that attractive, but she was. My ex, I assume she still is. No, she was quite nice to look at, mashallah, she had the appearance that a wife should have, but she wore niqab out in public, and so I understood that this is actually, if there's a time to beat your chest and brag, then this would have been it, except we're not supposed to brag even about these good things about our spouses. And so, I was silent around people that knew both of us. I can only say it now because no one knows who I am and they don't know who she is. But the thing is that there was actually a prize there. This is not something that everybody, this was not open for public consumption. Just like I'm not, she wasn't. But the other thing is that when it comes down to the fear, I still think that fear is a good thing by which to vet them to a certain extent. But we don't put them in frightening situations in order to test them the way that they would try to do with us. They look for something that's fearsome to try to test us. And they judge us by how we react in the most fearsome situations. And even in Sudan, where the women don't have nearly the level of vitriol for their men that you would find in the West, traditionally speaking, even in Sudan, they have a saying. There was some battle in the late 1800s with the British, and pretty much all of the Sudanese men died in that battle because of the weapons of the British. Well, the women to this day have a saying, all of the real men died in that battle. I forgot the name of it, but that's what they say, as if to say that there's no real men left alive, even today, even generations later, over a century later. They like to say this. So they want to use the most fearsome situations like war to judge your reaction and to judge your manhood. We don't do the same thing to them. But I think that anger, even though I still think that what we men should do is, in a case where something is scary and it pops up, that's when we should remain calm-headed and assess her reaction, not just to be mean and vindictive, but just to be fair. That's what they're going to do in our case. But anger is something that we should definitely look at. We should use anger the way they use fear. Try to set up a fearsome situation and then judge your reaction to that. We should use anger the same way for them. Those of them that are going to use fear by which to judge us, we should set something up that would anger a lot of women and see how angry they get, and then hold them accountable for that.
So, Sister Nadira, I tried to, I'm not as eloquent in speech as some, But she says, so it's masculine. So it's masculine to defend yourself as a woman. What I said was, when it comes to fear, there's three responses: fight, flight, and deception. Okay, and I explained what flight and deception entailed. But when I said when it comes to fight, when a woman is put in a desperate situation, you know, she would naturally defend herself when she's in a desperate situation. You know, some women would not. Some women just go out. They go out like sheep because they don't have it in them. Okay, so in order for a woman to fight a man, you know, even fight some women sometimes, but to fight a man, she has to have that element. She has to have that element. Some women just don't have it. They don't have it. They'll lay down like sheep. They just don't have it in them. Okay, uh, they are the ones that demand to be protected. But in desperate situations, a woman can defend herself, but it is a masculine act. Generally, it's a masculine act. It's something that men do. Okay, it's like that's why there's no feminists in Ukraine stepping up trying to fight. You know, the feminists are getting out of there with their short haircuts. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, one thing I want to mention before we go to anger is that I mentioned to a woman, I won't even say a woman it is, I'm so embarrassed. I mentioned to a woman, I say, a man is walking down the street, coming down the same sidewalk as you, opposite way, mean mugging. He's on 10. His face reflects that he's going through something. You're going through some things, okay? Your choices are to look at your phone and keep walking past. No eye contact, okay? Or look at your watch. That's option number one. Number two, take a defense mechanism of smiling. A woman's smile is a defense mechanism, believe it or not, that brings down the beast, okay? She smiled and said, and just keep going, okay? That's number two. I say it's not better than looking at your phone and walking past or looking at your watch and walking past. I say I wouldn't recommend smiling at the person, but to smile at them lets them know that, I'm not taking you to 11. You're on 10, I'm not taking you to 11, okay? That's the second option. I say the third option is, what the hell are you looking at? Guess what this woman said? I'll take what's behind door number 3, Alex. That's what she said. This is what we're dealing with today, Achi. This is what we're dealing with. They don't see a difference between men and women. They don't see a difference. And this guy is clearly going through some things. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to take him from 10 to 11? How will you fare? How will a woman fare in that situation? And this is a problem that we're having. It's a problem that we're having.
If they don't see the difference, then of course they're going to turn around and act exactly like men. And while they may not see the difference, or they say they don't, they're going to start to assess men, as I've stated before. They're going to start to assess us by hypermasculine standards. And this might be maybe this is behind the whole Superman Lois Lane phenomenon. And when I say Lois Lane, I'm not saying it with an N at the end as in Nancy, but an M as in Mary, Lois Lane phenomenon. You notice that regular run-of-the-mill ladies with no superhuman abilities or even no combat training, hand-to-hand combat or any self-defense training, are assessing men by our ability to repel bullets. We have to be darn near be bulletproof and scared of nothing. They're looking for the men of whom everyone else is afraid, and they have no training in self-defense at all. They're just not that tough. But they're ready to fight a guy, because even if they do get knocked out, they're still heroes for fighting a man, and he's a punk because he hit her. So there's nothing, socially speaking, there's nothing for them to lose there. That might be part of the reason behind it, that they don't consciously, they're not willing to accept the difference between men and women, but subconsciously they can't stop making that comparison and that contrast. So if they're just brave like they want men to be, then now the man's got to be superhuman. And so now the man, he can't just be brave enough to stand up and fight if she needs some defense. No, he has to win, and he has to come out unscarred. It has to be like the bank robbery scene from the Superman movie, where he gets shot in the eye and the bullet bounces off. It's got to be that. And I do see a lot of this. I saw this developing when I was in middle school, but when I went back and I was teaching middle school, it seemed to be even worse. And honestly, I'm seeing this even in the adult world now, where they're taking this to both um, uh, they're taking it in a literal and a financial context where the man's got to be physically invincible and financially guaranteed to never experience a day of poverty and lack and want. And they're pretty much demanding this. So they're really demanding nearly godlike qualities out of normal men because since they can't subconsciously stop comparing men to women, um, but they consciously refuse to accept that there are going to be differences, then the natural outcome of that is that the man's got to be invincible, that he's got to be able to argue with the decree of God and get his way against Allah's decree. So really the standards by which I'm talking Muslim and non-Muslim women alike, the standards by which they're judging men in the West have wound up becoming blasphemous.
So the Sister Nadira again, she says to fight is one thing, to attempt to defend oneself is another, isn't it? I agree. I agree. And the example I gave about the man coming down the sidewalk, mean mugging, the woman was given three options: to look away, like act like she was busy, distracted by something else, look at her phone, look at her watch. Secondly, smile at him, and keep it moving, keep it pushing. Third one is to say, "What the hell you looking at?" And she chose, "What the hell you looking at?" So that's the masculine I'm talking about. Not the one that fights out of desperation, but the one that actually fights, that takes fight as a choice when she could have stayed in her feminine frame and she could have enjoyed protection from the men that were in the vicinity. So she say, are you speaking about Muslim women or Muslim sisters or women in this dunya? Speaking about women in general, Muslim sisters are not supposed to be behaving like the non-Muslim women, but in the experience of many Muslim brothers, it's not too much of a difference in that, in that regard. So nevertheless, let's move on from this.
I
Muhammad.
have a question though.
Okay,
Is
go ahead.
Nadira in Facebook or is Nadira in is she in the YouTube chat?
She's in. Where's Nadira's? I think she's Facebook. Facebook.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
she's
that's why I couldn't see her. I have the
Okay.
YouTube chat on my screen. But
Okay.
okay, I got it.
Yeah, she's in the
Yeah.
Facebook. Okay, so let's move on. Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam indicated in one hadith, when a man asked him, "Ya Rasulullah, counsel me," he said, "Do not become angry." The man said, "Okay, now counsel me." He said, "Do not become angry." The man said, "Okay, I got it. Counsel me." He said, "Do not become angry." Anger brings out a level of honesty that a person, not that they're being two-faced or a hypocrite. Anger brings out an honesty that a person normally suppresses for the better good. For the better good. I can pick on a lot of stuff that my wife would do, but I choose not to. I choose to save it for the things that are major, okay? Major. I'm not going to pick at every little thing. You leave the top off the mayonnaise, I'm going to put it back on, stick it in the refrigerator. You do something this, do something that, I'm going to, I'm a cover for you, and you'll be like, you always do this and that. And if I say you do it too, or you did it, then she'll, I never, because I never brought it up. But if a woman sweeps a bunch of trash into one pile, what do black folks get that from? They sweep trash into a pile and walk away. Now, what's going to happen when you got children or people walking? They're going to kick it back around. Like, I never understood that, but I only seen that with black folks. I don't know if white folks, other people do that. But I seen that with black folks. They would sweep trash into a pile. Instead of picking it up and throwing it away, just leave it there. They feel like they've done their job for the day.
I must come from a different tribe in Africa than you.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
I haven't seen actually. I've
Well,
seen
well,
some high
you know
school.
that's post-slavery. I guess the slave master made them sweep it into a pile and walk away. I don't know what the hell I don't know where they got that from, bro. But that's from descendants of slaves.
Yeah. That must be it. It's not. It's counterintuitive to just leave it in a pile. I have, yeah, that's counterintuitive. I've seen teenagers do something like that if they were cleaning someone else's property and they had to wait for the trash bin to come around to where they could put it into the bin. I've seen them do that temporarily when, let's say, if we were cleaning the gym or something of that nature. But just as a habit, no, I'm with you. I don't see that being done normally. But that's I'm pretty sure we're not the only people in the world that do it, but in America, that probably is only us.
Okay, well, Sister Nadira, she said this conversation is a bit touchy and somewhat, I guess, one-sided, no disrespect intended. Oh, it's no problem. It's no problem. We are two men talking about experiences that we've witnessed, that we've had, or others that we know of have experienced, and we're talking about fear and anger being vetting tools. What woman is going to put a man in fear? She can watch his reaction when a fearful situation happens, but how is she going to vet him unless she hired one of her male relatives to run up on him, and see how he handles that? She might have a male relative with no fronts in his mouth after that. He might look like a Tesla, you know what I'm saying, when the brother finished with him, So you don't want to put a man in a situation like that because we tend to react violently. Men are violent. And they say when two men meet, there is a low, like Kevin Samuels says, there is a low expectation of violence, a potential for violence when two men meet. So we respect each other. See, a woman meets a man and she says, you such and such, and pokes him in his face and pushes him and swings at him, and she don't expect any repercussions. Now, this is not all sisters. This is not all sisters. We're talking about the ones, if it don't fit, we must acquit, right? If the glove don't fit, must acquit. If it don't apply, let it fly. That's the ones we're talking about. So if a woman sees herself that fits into this niche, that's not on us. We're talking about the worst of situations, because women from good households, mother and father, don't need to be vetted. They really don't. Nevertheless, so a woman will approach a man in a very masculine, aggressive way and don't expect any repercussions or no fire. They don't expect any fire, At the most, they expect some smoke, but no fire. But two men have enough respect for each other to say, look, I'm going to respect this man's space and his honor. I'm going to respect his dignity because I know at any given time he can fire off, But women don't have that fear. So I don't know how a woman is going to put a man in a fearful situation, and it turns out well. But men can indeed put women in fearful situations and watch how they behave. Now, Muhammad said, do not become angry. Do not become angry, okay? And this was an advice. He said it 3 times to emphasize the point, okay? Now, how do we, while vetting, let's say at a sit down, let's set the table. We're at a sit down, okay? And we are going to vet a person and see how they behave when they are angry, because anger brings out a level of honesty. It brings out a level of honesty. You'll say some things that you normally wouldn't have said. You know what? I've been holding back. Let me say this, let me say something. Whatever people say, however they set it up and they tee it up and knock it off the tee. You know what I'm saying? But when they get angry, they tend to get honest. So if you want to see if a woman is naturally feminine or naturally masculine, she'll do it when she's angry. Make her angry, and you'll see it. I have some examples. If you got anything on this, because I'm about to go to some examples of how to make them angry.
I'm all ears for that.
Okay, here we go. The betting tool of anger. Here are some suggestions. I'm sure some of you can make up better ones than this. Honest insults. Honest insults. Question, does your forehead, were you born with that forehead? Or was there an accident? Because women want to be told how beautiful they are, especially if they're attracted to you, they really want to be told how beautiful they are. So say, hey, were you born with that forehead, or did you have some childhood trauma? Or, you can Ask a question like that. Ask them, say, do your ears always stick out like that, or is it seasonal? You can ask questions like, look, this is to get them angry, to see if they're going to curse you out, to see if they're going to throw the plate on your lap. You know, if you're sitting down eating, this is to get them somewhat angry. Okay, you can use what's called jokey jokes. Your profile says that you're down to earth. Is that because of the gravitational pull? You know, I mean, these are things I just came up with real quick. But you can ask them. You can stand them up, invite them to a sit down. Don't show up. Then 2 hours later, call them nonchalantly. Assalamu alaikum. What you doing? You know what I'm saying? What you doing? Call them nonchalantly. See if they curse you out. You gonna call me after you stood me up? Oh man, I totally forgot about that. We straight though, right? I guess. That's a feminine woman. That's a feminine woman. First of all, let me tell you something. I know my worth and start cursing and oh, okay. Oh, you failed the test. The other ones, they passed the test. You failed the test. I got you uncomfortable. I got you angry, and your true self came out. You know, the part you suppress from public consumption, the part you suppress from public view, you hide from public view. I made you angry, and your true self came out. That's what I wanted. And if they respond in a feminine way, say, "Will you marry me?" I made my decision. I want to marry you, ASAP. If they respond in a masculine way, say, "Look, I'm moving on." I'm saying, I'm moving on. I don't want to marry another dude. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to lay with another dude. And the last thing is prenuptial poly chat. Just bring it up. Say, look, how would you feel if I marry you and another sister on the same day? Different venues, but the same day. How would you feel if we're married? No, how long after we're married can I, are you comfortable with me? Not can I, because you don't ask permission, but say, are you comfortable with me marrying another woman? Throw it out there. Throw it out there. Some of us want to anyway, but we just simp out, you know. Throw it out there. How comfortable will you be, and how many months, to make you, I want you comfortable. How many months before I go hunting? You know what I'm saying? And things like that. Throw that out, and if it angers them, it's fine, as long as they respond in a feminine frame. But if they respond in a masculine frame, don't marry that person. Don't marry that person. Because you're going to be laying down with another dude. That's strange.
Well, that's very intelligent. I'm taking notes, and you started to inspire me to think of some other things too to use. I myself, I probably won't have to use them again. I don't expect to have to use them again, but I still think some other men need to know these things. To use fear, maybe I wouldn't tell a man to do it to a lady, set her up like that. But I know ladies will do that to men at times. I've seen them do it. They try to, God forbid, you a really light-skinned man amongst African Americans. They'll really do it then, and some of them will even tell you that that's why they did it. But anger, certainly, these are things that definitely need to be utilized more often. Now, I don't know about setting up a sit down and then not showing up intentionally, only because that involves giving your word and then breaking it. But still, anger does.
Guess what? You can also inform her wakil or wali that this is my intention to see character, to witness her character. Okay, you can inform him of that this was actually a tactic and not something you did maliciously.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you can tell him, and so that clears you morally.
Yeah.
However, suppose he turns and tells her, because a lot of these walis, especially especially amongst our ethnic community within the ummah, can't be trusted. A lot of the men, especially amongst us, are in fact simps, and that's part of why it is that they're sitting up here vetting you, and nobody's vetting these ladies. I mean, we don't even have a concept of vetting these women even though we're now in similar situations. We're coming into Islam. We're coming in from families that are not Muslim. The communities don't know our families; they know us, not the families. And these sisters are coming in the same way. And these wakils, and you and I discussed this before. These wakils are protecting the women, which is fine, but they're only vetting the men, not even vetting the women. They're not taking that fair road of finding out that a man is actually probably too good for this lady and saying, you know what, actually, I don't approve of her for you. They're
Exactly.
not, they never crossed their mind. And so the idea is good, morally speaking. It's just that we would have to do so much to make sure that he doesn't turn around and tell her what's going on. We'd have to set it up in different ways. Now,
Yeah.
asking about when they become comfortable with you marrying a second one, there you go. Right off the bat, that one is a good one. Because we already know that they're going to demand monogamy, and they're not going to be ready to deal with what monogamy means. They're not going to be ready to actually keep a husband all to themselves. They just want a husband to themselves without having to do the upkeep. We know that that's going to happen. They're going to come with excuses for just about anything. If that means she's the only one that may have to, let's say if you have a sore back, she's the only one that now is going to apply that treatment to your back. She doesn't have help with that. She's the only one that has to do the upkeep to keep the husband, and they're going to balk and say, "Not now, no." And so that's a good one right there. That's an excellent one. And as a matter of fact, an older man from Somalia told me before he left his job that one of the ways you handle that is that when you're talking to a lady, you don't even tell her that you're not married already. If you're not, you make her think that she's still the second one. And then this weeds out the ones that can't stand polygyny because
Yeah.
they think you're already married.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then that
Exactly.
actually gets around them being angry for that. They may be angry about something else, but it gets around them being angry for that. And it's a good idea. We do need to use anger the way that they use fear. But one of the things we'd have to do is we'd have to really, really know the threats in that particular market, that marriage market. Like, for instance, if you live here in the Gulf and you're marrying someone that's not a Gulf citizen, the question still is, did she grow up in the Gulf? Because
Yeah.
if she grew up in the Gulf and she's acculturated to the citizens, then she's going to want to do the things that the citizens do. And, these women here are not mean to their men, but they shop and they keep their husbands in debt.
Oh yeah.
They just That's their pastime. Their pastime is makeup and shopping, and and they make it difficult for husbands to save money. There are husbands now that are turning to drugs just to cope with that kind of pressure
SubhanAllah. La
because the
ilaha illallah.
economy is getting worse. But these women, they're telling their husbands, "I'm not taking any cuts. I go back to my dad's house, and you still owe the dowry. You still owe the loan back to that bank for the dowry you paid to marry me. So what you gonna do? Pay another dowry while before you finish paying back this one?" Um, so it's unfortunate, but that's what you have to do. I hate to say it, I wish it wasn't the case, but that's what you have to start looking at. You got to start paying attention to all the different cultural threats where you are, and then those are the things. Once you know them, though, that's what you can utilize to test out their anger. Because really, you simply say to them that they may have to go through something that other women either don't go through or that they don't know these other women are going through, and that's really what's going to bring out the anger in them if they have it.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, I pray Allah blesses me on my next choice, because she's already been vetted, mashallah. She's already been vetted, tried and true, handle, a bad situation very feminine and very well. So, mashallah, already vetted. Uh, she deserves only good after that, you know what I'm saying? So, the vetting is just, it's the same thing with your wali asking for my W-2s, which you'll never get. Brothers, do not give up your W-2s, no check stub, no nothing. Say, look, what is she used to? What is her standard of living? What is she used to? If she came from the projects and I put her in a nice apartment, I don't want to hear nothing, okay? If she came from a middle class house, and I put her in a middle in my middle class house, then I don't want to hear anything. I'm going to take care of her bare necessities and give her sadaqah above that. Do not, do not. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Returning the taslim to everyone that gave it prior, and brother thought that gave it now. But do not show your W-2s, your tax return. Do not show any of that. Your money, and this is an upcoming one. I don't know if I'll do it next week, but your money is not her money. Her money is her money. Your money is not her money. Her bare necessities are your responsibility. I don't know where they get that. Her money is her money. Your money is her money. I don't know where they get that from. You know, like the brother talking about, they shopaholics, putting their husbands in debt, threatening them to pull the full dowry. Well, you should never marry a woman that you couldn't afford in the first place. How can you take care of a woman where you become destitute to her? You know. So anyway,
That's why a lot of these men here, and may Allah bless you in the next marriage. But that's why a lot of these men here, if they can, they will marry from a non-Gulf nation. And women have been upset about that. Well, I heard one argument in the chat room about 8 years ago where a local woman was arguing with the men. She heard actually that there was this new convert in the country. That was me, and she brought up marriage. And so when I said that I would be willing to discuss with her and her dad, and she said her dad was passed away, her dad was deceased. I began to say, then in that case, then I'll be willing to discuss it with you and an uncle, or with you and an older brother, or is your granddad still around? Before I could finish, the men started arguing with her in Arabic, and I didn't understand enough of it back then. But one thing I did hear her say was, you guys are marrying women from Syria and Jordan, and you're upset because I'm talking to a non-citizen about marriage. And I asked the host of the house, the owner of the house in which I was sitting, if he could tell me what the men were saying to her, but he declined to translate. And at that point, I actually began to, not so much because I had to marry her, I didn't know her, actually, but because the men felt perfectly comfortable interfering, even against the interest of a man they like. At that point, I began to tell men in the whole entire society, I do not respect your marriage customs. Y'all are hypocrites when it comes to that. And I don't blame you for not marrying the local women, but you have to understand that you can't say anything against non-citizen men marrying your relatives because they're not citizens, even if it's because you fear that he's going to take her out of the country. So what? If this is your marriage customs, then your country's crap, and the women should leave. And frankly, you should too. But it does happen like that. And so the men actually had to be, in a few Gulf nations, the men had to be stopped from leaving the country before age 30, marrying non-women, because see, the women were, the women were different about the dowries. Some women said high dowry, some said low. It just depended. But what happened, and this is where we men were at fault, fathers of daughters would not go down in these dowries, regardless of what the daughter wanted. Fathers would jump in when it came to the dowries. No, the dowry is going to be high. Family honor. You're not going to insult the family. So a low dowry was taken as an insult to the family. And then these, unfortunately, they were the ones that caused a lot of this trouble. So a lot of these girl dads were the ones that are responsible for this as well. Instead of letting her determine what the dowry is and if he can pay it, they stepped in and said, no, the dowry's got to be this. And yeah, I know nobody walks around with that kind of money just lying around. So yeah, you're going to have to take out a loan. And a lot of men began to advise their younger brothers and cousins not to get married because of that, because they owe large amounts of money to the banks. And these banks, of course, they got to get their money back because they had to take loans to get these dowries to get married, and they couldn't leave the countries to do it. And so it's been more relaxed lately. And now these women are dealing with it again. So first the women got the governments to lock the men in. And then that just made marriage rates go down. Instead of finding them more husbands, marriages just went down. Now you had unmarried men and unmarried women. And I'm sure that abortion has probably increased as well.
Yeah.
They start hearing more stories about finding babies in trash dumpsters and things like that. So it got bad.
That's what happens when the
And
dowry's high.
right, exactly. And there were, I mean, there more and more men in between the ages of 21 and 30, more and more men began to travel outside of the country. And more, what many of them did is that they would marry next door to the Gulf somewhere. Uh, they would marry someone, usually in Northern Africa or Jordan. They stopped going to Syria, but they would marry someone in these countries, and then they would just go and visit those nations when they could get time off, and then go back to the Gulf nations where they live and resume work when the vacations were over. So that's what a lot of them were going through, and it was messed up. But what it nobody wanted to deal with is the fact that these men are going to have to set aside that family honor pride and allow the ladies to determine the dowries themselves, because they were very short-sighted, and it hurt them all. And these men, you got these men that are not married, and somebody wants to marry their sister, or their daughter. Well, let's say their sister. They're going to tell dad, "No, raise the dowry," because if I can't afford to get married, then we're not going to let somebody marry our lady relative inexpensively. We're not going to allow that until. See, nobody wants to be the first one to do it. That's what it is. No man wants to be the first one to drop the dowry.
What we should
Um,
do, I think this is what I could. I suggest this. I think that when a woman or the family uh, petitions for a high, ridiculous type dowry, something that the man didn't offer, because a mahar, a sadaq, is a free gift. It's what you offer. It's not what somebody's demanding. Okay, so they already screwed up that Islamic principle. I think when the family asks for a high dowry, or the woman asks directly for a high dowry, a ridiculous dowry, whatever that is, depend on the man, right? That if he's a millionaire, billionaire, if he's a dollar heir like I am, it all differs when it comes to monetary, right? So she's asking for a ridiculous dowry depending on that man. I think that we should send her family a dog or a cat and withdraw our proposal. When a woman asks for a high dowry, have a Uber Eats or somebody deliver her a cat. I think that's what we should do, and that'll be a sign that we're walking away. It's kind of like the mafia with the fish in the newspaper, or the horse head in the bed. Let's send them a cat, and you can even be symbolic. Send them a stuffed cat or a stuffed dog. That's our mafia way of saying we're not putting up with it anymore. Inshallah ta'ala. I hope that catches on.
You know what? I think I'm going to suggest it on my channel to the Muslim brothers, because see, you just mentioned that the dowry is a gift that the man's supposed to offer.
Sadaq.
Now, the thing is that the dowry, I understand that the dowry is a necessary condition of marriage, but not a particular amount of the dowry is a
Yeah.
condition. It's just it has to be a dowry.
And she can
But
remit it. She can remit it after the dowry stated. She can remit it. It's her right. She can remit it. After it's
Okay.
stated, okay, well, give her an iron ring. Here's the ring. I'm returning the ring to you. I remit my dowry. She can do that.
Oh,
They don't even return it after khul'ah. They don't return the dowry. If you don't consummate and you pronounce divorce on her, she won't return that dowry. Not even half of it. I know brothers that are due their dowries that never get it back. Makes no sense to pay a ridiculous one, because that produces contention and hard feeling. The tires get put on
Yeah.
flat and brake lines get cut. That's a lot of money that's being passed around, bro. And it's not even being rightfully returned. So that means the sincerity was not there in the beginning. But JJ says compassionate imams, there's a lot of horrific fatwa out there that these women rely on. I read one today by a sheikha. She's a female sheikh answering questions. I don't know why the brother asked her, but he asked her, my wife seems to be too friendly with men. She likes attention. Dudes giving her attention. She's too friendly, too conversational, too talkative. You shouldn't be so insecure. Perhaps your wife is doing that because something you lack. That's what the so-called female sheikh was saying, bruh. You know, I mean, that's, bruh. And there's some men like Mufti Mink that give a lot of beta fatwas and things like that. You know, I mean, they just really lean over to the woman's side. Yes, any sister in this room, any sister not in this room, if someone tries to harm you, I'll put my life on the line. That means I'll leave my children. I'll leave my wife. I'll leave my children to put my life on the line for you. That's my duty as a Muslim. That was already in the fine print of my Shahada. Okay, I would die for you, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna feed you delusions. And I'm not gonna feed into your delusion. You know, I'm not gonna do it. So, with that being said, any last words, Akhi? Because I got a quiz for you real quick, inshallah.
No. Well, let me start with let me start by thanking you, Jazakallah Khair, for telling us about the dowry. Because now that I know that, then I know what to tell men on my channel to get around to doing. The Muslim brothers that listen in the audience, telling them what to do. Non-Muslims probably would benefit from it, but this is something I have to tell the Muslims, because see, no one's telling us this. I didn't know this. No one is saying to us that it's actually a gift you offer and she accepts or rejects. It's been presented as though she can determine what that's going to be. And I thought it was one of their rights to state the dowry, and therefore I was defending that right only because I thought it was theirs to defend. But now that I know that,
Akhi, what woman has a price tag that walks around with a price tag?
exactly.
You ain't been Muslim all your life. I mean, any Muslim that's aware knows there's only a certain woman that walks around with a price tag. But guess what? When you pay it, you can't own them. If you're gonna put a price, if I buy a car, I will own it. If I see a house with a price tag, that is the price to own that car. Why do you cost as much as a house or a car, and I can't own you? Exactly. I got to argue with you about submission, argue with you about keeping the house clean. I got to argue with you about being feminine and not talking back. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. Matter of fact, give me my dowry back. Go about your way. You know, that's what we're suffering from. And I know that sounds harsh. That don't apply to everybody. Certainly not the one that I have my eyes on. It does not apply to them, but where it applies, if it fits, you know, where it applies, let it, you know, if it don't apply, let it fly. But if it fit, you know, you in that.
Are you still married now at this point?
Man,
Okay.
I'm married in spirit. Oh man, yeah, I can only take so much.
I got you. I only asked because I remember about a year ago, you and I went on. You could say we went on live on the internet. No, I think it was a recording.
Okay.
And you explained to me that at that time you were married, and sisters were giving you grief because she was a woman of the book.
Yeah.
And so I remember that you were. I wasn't aware of any updates since, but I do hope that Allah makes the next one easy for you and for her. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to answer Jawad's question. I didn't see the debate that Daniel had with the sister. I plan on watching that, but I've been very behind in a lot of videos, and we just got off this week, Jawad. So this week is when I probably will be able to catch up with all the videos I've been missing before.
You got to watch that one.
But I know Daniel had a debate with a feminist sister, and I'm looking forward to it. I won't front. Daniel and I are never going to see eye to eye when it comes to race.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to start calling out. I don't care if they're Muslim or not. I'm going to call out the so-called white manosphere, even if he doesn't count himself as part of it, for one thing, and that is they do not have the right to sit up and complain about how the Western women are acting towards men, and then turn around and tell people of African descent to get over what oppressors did generations ago if we still have to deal with the effects of it today. That's not something I'm willing to respect coming from that particular sector. And
I would like to discuss that with him on a panel. I mean, I can't say me and Daniel, we're brothers in the deen, of course. But I can't say we're friends. We actually did have paintball. I think he was on my team. We shot paintball against each other, you know, and stuff like that. So, but nevertheless, I would like to actually sit with him if that's the perspective that he has, because there's another brother on Facebook that does not like him. And I'm like, why? He said, well, he's a racist. I said, I don't find him racist. He may be suffering from some of the same views and opinions, the whitewashed views and opinions, and he may not be aware of it. So I think that somebody that he knows personally, like myself, to sit down with him, I think that would be a good discussion so I can clear that up for him, you know?
Yeah, he may very well not have any hatred. He may not be racist. He may be subconsciously so and not be aware of it. It's very possible. A lot of Arabs I find here have the subconscious racism where it's completely devoid of violence, devoid of hatred, and it's not dehumanizing. It's like they forget that we're equal. They don't actively look down on us. They just forget our full equality. Usually, the only evidence you see of it is that they just don't want intermarriage, which is fine with me as long as I'm allowed to tell my daughters you cannot marry any Arab that counts himself as white. If this goes both ways, and I would accept that, but then they forget. I tell my daughters you can't marry them. They forget. I'm telling my daughters that she can't. I'm telling my daughters they can't marry these men because these men don't view us as suitable for intermarriage. It's their attitude problem,
Yeah,
and then
they'll oppress him. They'll oppress him, guaranteed.
right.
When
And
you
then
see,
what
when you
the
see a
thing-
person that's lesser than you can't give them their rights.
Exactly. And you can tell this, and you can tell it's subconscious because they will not they're the ones that don't want intermarriage, and they will ask a man why he married a black woman. And or they'll ask a woman why she married a black man. And I mean one of their own non-black men or women. They'll ask, why did you marry someone that's black? Now, I'm light skinned, but I'm still African in my origin. And the student asked me why I married a woman from Africa. Asked me, and he said, I heard you married a black woman. I said, of course I did. And he said, why? And so I realized he didn't fully understand the equality. He forgot the equality, even though he doesn't have a concept of racial hatred. They associate racial hatred with America,
Yeah.
but he still didn't have the concept of full racial equality either. So I said to him, listen, did you know that I'm black? And he said, no, I didn't know. And I said, okay, well, if you didn't know that I'm black, then why the F didn't you go and ask my wife why she married me? When have black people ever been the problem when it comes to race relations? We got other problems, but when have we ever been? When have we ever started a racial conflict? We have never. That's one thing we've never done. This is something that is always people that look like you and me have done, but actually they come from your origin. So, and in matter of fact, this guy was darker than me asking me that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had that discussion about it, and I told him that I said to him, look, I'm gonna tell you now. I know you don't hate anybody. I get it. You're going to tell me that Bilal was black. Khalas, you're going to tell me we're all slaves of Allah. And you're going to tell me about Muhammad's last sermon, may Allah's peace and prayers be upon him. That's what you're going to say to me right now. I know that because you better wouldn't say this all the time. And so this is one thing I'm going to start, one thing I'm going to stay aggressive about. I started my channel not even talking about gender issues. I started it to hold non-black Muslims' feet to the fire if they participated in any sort of anti-black ideology. And it wasn't really the Arabs that had a lot of it in the beginning. I had to argue with people from South Asia about this stuff. And then I went on into gender issues. But the reason I took the name Black Mind was specifically to offend Muslims who had racist ideas. Because there's not a Muslim in the world that has a problem with whiteness, so to speak. They don't exist. There are those who have a problem with colonization, but there's not a Muslim in the world that's got a problem with whiteness at all. There's not a Muslim in the world that says my kids can't marry someone white because they're white. That doesn't exist. And so therefore, I'm going to start getting on them again. I think I'm going to renew this sort of militancy, but I'm willing to listen to him when he goes in on gender. However, I'm letting y'all know that when I do listen to him, when I catch him saying anything about anything that's supposed to dampen or stand up to black militancy, I'm going to chew him up about it. And if he keeps on going, I'm eventually going to call him a hypocrite if he continues doing it. And I'm going to call his faith itself into question if he keeps on going that route. If he's if he's trying to put women in their place, but then he's going to sit up and tell black folks that we need to get over it, or tell even other people of color that they need to get over it.
I think I'm not saying I'm the best one to have that conversation with him, but I think I'm closer to him than you are to have that conversation with him. And if I can't clear it up, then I'm sure you'll correct me about it. But I'm sure that inshallah, I know the brother enough to know that he's very sincere. He's really pro-Islam. He's not intending to offend anyone. He just may have a white view of certain matters. You know, I've come across that with people that are white that love me, not even Muslim. They love me, okay, and they had a particular view, right? They thought something was offensive to me that wasn't, and thought something that wasn't offensive that was. They just don't live in my world. They didn't grow up where I grew up. They don't have the vantage point they don't have the prism to view my reality from. They don't know what they said was highly offensive. They don't know what they said was highly racist, you know, and stuff like that. It's like the comedian Dean Cole. He said that he was working on the Jay Leno show as a writer, and some story came up. Ooh, such and such got shot. I bet that really hurt. And they looked at Dion Cole. They looked at him like he would know how it feels to get shot. You know, they didn't know they were being racist. They didn't know they were being offensive to him. But they looked right at him. Of course, he put that in his joke bag, but they looked right at him when it came to how does it feel when you get shot. You know, and this is, like I say, a lot of times they don't know. It would be a good topic to discuss, because if anybody dislikes Daniel and sees him a racist, then I would be more than happy to clear that up, because I don't see him that way. People have misconceptions that run the gamut, right? I think that maybe one of his misconceptions, if he said it verbatim as you said it, then I know that's incorrect. But I also have a perspective on that myself. So maybe me and him can meet and bring that to a close, because he has a lot of good that can be taken from his website, his blog, and everything else that he does. He has a lot of good that can be taken from it. But if this is something that is, and we all have flaws, we all have shortcomings. If this is something that is holding back, which can be even more successful from his Islamic activities, then this has to be cleared up, because you don't want to alienate a people, no matter how few they are, because we're not about likes and subscribers. We ain't about that.
Exactly. The message is more important than the messenger. And
Indeed.
I don't mean messengers, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The content is more important oftentimes than who's saying it. And
You know, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he called foreplay the messenger. He
right,
said,
sure did.
yeah, he said, don't jump on your wife like you jump on a riding animal. He said, but let there be a messenger in between. So we use messenger. We use it. Alhamdulillah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And thanks for reminding me about that. I completely forgot that he said that. I'm just glad I didn't actually forget about that messenger. But see, the thing is that if he's willing to learn from you, then that's a good thing, and he should get that opportunity before I just go jumping on him.
Yeah.
When you said that you were going to talk to him, I figured, you know what? I don't have to jump on him right off the bat. He's going to have a chance to talk to you. That may be the day he gets schooled. And that's the thing. He's going to get schooled. But if he's receptive to being schooled, then that clears that up. But the thing is that there's a camp from which that mindset comes. And I am going to go in on that camp, of course, sparing whoever it is that then begins to criticize that and says, hold up, no. Fair is fair. We wouldn't forgive anybody for doing this to us. So it's not okay to justify that granddad did this to somebody else. We can't do that. Because if they're going to sit up and tell us if they're going to say to us, well, you're trying to hold on to Elijah Muhammad, even though most of us are not trying to do that, but they're going to say that, we have every right to say to them, hold up. That means you cannot sit up here and venerate your granddad if you know what he did to oppress somebody else. Even if the someone else he oppressed was from your own ethnicity, that still made him an oppressor. It doesn't work one way and not work both ways. And so even if I don't have to go in on him, and hopefully I won't, I'd rather not. If somebody wants to be for the Muslims and they're willing to be for justice, then I don't have to go in on them.
I think that needs to be cleared up ASAP, though. I'll talk to Ammar Yusuf and see what he could do and to push that conversation forward, because that's something that really has to be cleared up, because you're not the first person I heard say that.
Well, let me ask you, said you went paintballing with him. Does he live in Texas?
Yeah, he's in Texas.
Okay, gotcha. All right then. To be honest with you, there was a guy at my job who accepted Islam at some point, but he used to carry on with local Gulf women, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, Here in the Gulf where we live, he used to he had girlfriends. "Oh, I'm going to marry you. I'm going to marry you, and we found out about this later on. He actually got kicked out of an apartment because a landlord found out that he was letting his girlfriend go and wait for him in the apartment.
Yeah.
So he got put out. That man said, "You know what? Don't even worry about next month's rent. Finish this month out. You got 2 weeks to pack your stuff and go." And he wound up in the teacher's residence building with the rest of us. But one day, a Muslim brother from Virginia and Somalia got on him and started cursing him out on the bus because this Texan, he was the Caucasian gentleman was from Texas, and someone the South Africans used to get into arguments on the bus going to and from work. And yes, it was a Boer that started the arguments. He would start with the Xhosa and the Zulu people and try to argue with him about their views. And well, we just did to you what you did to the Khoi and the San. He would start that stuff. Y'all got there at the same time we did, and they would say, "What are you talking about? We knew the land by the time you got there. You got there and found us." Well, this Texan turned around one day and he said something about, "Oh, we have the same argument in America. I don't care. I don't think there was anything wrong with what my ancestors did to the Indians. We took their land. So what?" And he started to justify and that's when the Muslim from Virginia and Somalia started straight up calling him a kafir, hypocrite, disbeliever, and saying, if we went into Europe right now and colonized and enslaved you and gave you something that made you sick, and you wound up in the same state as the Native Americans, you would call on Allah Himself to avenge your people and avenge your disbelieving ancestors too. And here you are saying this: you're not Muslim, you're not my brother. You say something like this again, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. That's what he put on the bus, and they had to be separated. The thing was, I didn't have a leg to stand on to defend the guy from Texas.
Yeah.
He had become Muslim, but he felt like he still felt like he didn't have to obey the rules. We could tell
Yeah.
that based on his behavior with the women. He was, in fact, an American imperialist. He sat up and told some guys in Arabic once. He said the English language is from human nature. He said it's fitrat nas, and he meant the context of as opposed to Arabic. So he was pretty much saying it's natural for people to speak English, whereas Arabic is not a natural language for people, or other languages weren't natural. And I thought he was joking when he said it until I heard about this fight on the bus that almost happened. So I know that there's a camp where this mindset comes from. And they got every right to sit up and say, "Listen, man, we're not going to tolerate this crap off of you because you got demands that you make of us, and they are your rights. But this means we got rights too." I support them in that. But when they turn around, and I don't mean Daniel per se, but I'm talking about that particular camp. When they turn around and they start trying to spew this politically conservative rhetoric to us, they sound exactly like the racists sitting up and saying to us, "Well, pull yourselves up by your bootstrap and get over what happened in the past." And that's what they sound like. These are the ones they'll occupy a judge's seat, and because of the subconscious bias or conscious bias, they will sentence discriminately. They're still that same type of person, and they haven't taken this out of their head. But you know what? I'm glad that you know them, because if if you're able to talk some sense into them, then that'll work. But I'm gonna tell you, and you can warn them if you want. If I see y'all talk on the panel, and he starts cutting you off, and you're not doing that to him, I'm going to light into him afterwards. If he's willing to take turns talking to you and he's not cutting you off like you're stupid, then I'm not going to light into him later on.
No, I think we would hold a more civil discourse than that. I would hope. I don't think he doesn't see me as the enemy. He doesn't see me as contrary. It's just that I need to hear his views, and then I need to give him what my understanding of those views are, and then hopefully we could meet at a comfortable space, that I could, if those are his views. Remember, I didn't hear it. You said it, and I'm not calling you a liar. I'm not calling the other brother that dislikes him a liar. But you all have recanted. You all have given the same discourse that you heard. You recanted the same discourse that you both say you heard him say along the same line. So I'm not saying both of you are incorrect. I'm saying that I need to hear what his views are regarding this, because he might tell me, oh man, this is unfounded. I say, well, could you clear it up yourself? You know, I don't have to be on the show. Can you clear it up yourself? But if he has these misconceptions about get over it, you know, then I want to get the blessings of being able to, you know, open up his mind, open up his mind's state. But nevertheless, do you have 5 minutes?
Got 5 minutes.
Okay,
I
inshallah.
got
I want to do. I'm gonna start a segment, and I'm gonna do the segment now. Inshallah, it's called DDP. It's called Delusional Dating Profiles of the Week. Delusional Dating Profile of the Week, DDP of the Week. Okay, this one we have. Let me see if I can bring it up right here. Can I bring it up? Can I bring it up? I don't think I can bring it up. I'm gonna try to bring it up, and it's not coming up. Okay. Nope. Can't see it there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm trying to bring this thing up, and it's not working in my favor. It's not working in my favor. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna, I'll figure out this bug that's stopping me from bringing it up, and let me see. I'm gonna try to bring. I'm gonna see if I can bring it up now. I'm gonna try to pull this sucker because I think it's important. There we go. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah, I'm turning it now. Turn my screen now. Sorry. Okay. See what? Can I see what?
Okay, what I have on my screen. Can you see it?
No, I see you.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
So what
I
I'll
mean,
do, I'll just read from it, but it's on the screen for the viewers, inshallah ta'ala. This is my DDP, my delusional dating profile of the week. Uh, this particular lady, I'm not showing any picture of her. She, from my view, my vantage point, she says she's 5'5", as you can see on the screenshot. She is 5'5". She's a 45-year-old grandma. That's like a glamorous grandma, okay? And she's from Texas, okay? She looks about, as far as weight is concerned, the weight is not here, but she looks about 165. I'll give her 160 at the lighter end and 165 about average. Could be heavier, Allahu Alam. There's no info on drinking or smoking habits. Because usually on this particular thing, this is Facebook dating actually. She has no info about drinking or smoking habits. Okay. She has a college degree and she has kids. Okay. She's somewhat attractive. Okay. If I was to rate her from a 1 to 10, I'll give her a solid 4, but I will put her on a regimen of squats, lunges, light work on the arms. That's what I would do. I mean, she seems to be of need in that regard. She has a couple of visible tattoos near the shoulder area on both sides. Not something that's outrageous, but yet we know people that get tattoos are not of the savory variety. Okay, she has a couple. Well, okay. Where's the delusion? Where's the delusion in this? Can you now see it?
okay. What I see is her. I see the written profile, but I don't see any photos of her.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
see
I didn't put any photos of her.
just
Yeah,
joined.
I cropped those out. So I want you to pick out 3 points of delusion in just the bio, just that short bio,
Okay.
and see if we
Let's see
agree.
here. All right. Educated and hardworking. Well, she didn't say where she's hardworking. Um, she said educated, and for me, that is a plus. But for a lot of men, it doesn't matter. Love the hour doors. Well, that means she's obviously not that educated. She's already misspelling. And if English was
You
right,
gotta cut. You
that's
gotta
all right.
cut our break, bro. You gotta cut our break on the spelling.
No, I'm not going to, and here's
Okay,
why.
okay, okay.
In your own first language, I've seen a difference in my own students between those who who make a lot of errors in their own language, their first language. When they make spelling errors in English, I understand it. But I got students who make nothing but spelling and punctuation errors even in Arabic. And that tells me right off the bat, they're not really careful. She put a profile up and she didn't check before she saved it. So that right there tells me something.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's not that she hit the R key right next to the T. It's that she didn't proofread this. She just typed, peck, hit send, and she's supposed to get her results. Family oriented, okay, then chances are she would have already had a family by now. Spur of the moment, willing to try new things. That could be good or bad. Interested in finding my other half. It's kind of late for that. Let's work on becoming one, partners. That doesn't jive. The next thing is that she said, please don't try to change me. Let's make changes together. What she's trying to say right off the bat is we can be a partnership, but you can't be the boss. And I've never once ever met a woman that would excuse the man from his responsibilities, but they always want to try to take him out of the authority. And she's doing the same thing. Let's see, 5'5". I can't see below 5'5". That doesn't show up.
Okay, well, I mentioned some of her stats, the ones I felt that were relevant. And no, Jawad, she doesn't have any piercings that I can see, none that I can see. But nevertheless, it was just that bio, really. I gave some of the stats, verbally. And we kind of agree on the part that I underlined. We agreed on it, okay? I put what about fitness? You're saying that please don't try to change me. Let's make changes together. Well, what if I'm fit and you're not? What if you look like the Michelin woman and I don't? Then fitness needs to be on your side. Yes, I can help you, but we don't have to make changes together. I can help you change. But the first thing she says is, please don't try to change me. So, okay, if that's the way you are and you're not going to improve, upon what you are, then this is where the delusion starts. Sister Nadira's going in, and I got to get to her, inshallah ta'ala. But also, this is a common example of desired role reversal. She wants to she wants to take on, like you said, she wants to take on the masculine frame. She wants to take on the leadership, and she wants to regulate how you will be a man toward her. She wants to regulate your manhood, So you become the assistant husband and not the husband himself. You become the assistant husband. You can only step in when she's not home. You can be husband when she's not home. Is there a man of the house? I'm the man of the house. Otherwise, Amazon knock on the door. She's going to answer the door, Or you have to refer to her to make any decisions with Amazon. So, the last thing I said, the type of woman that can't or refuses to be led. That's the type of woman. She needs work on her arms. She needs work on her midsection, her core. She needs work on her legs. And this is what she showed in the profile. She needs work on that. So now I can't change you. Okay, pass. If you can't squat, I'm out. I'm saying, if you can't squat, you get squat.
Won't be led. And my question then is she going to allow a man to, does she really want a man to go 50-50? Matter of fact, she sounds like she wants to be the boss. Is she going to pay the cost? Yeah. Now, I've never met one that was willing to pay the cost, even when they demanded that they are the boss. I haven't seen that before. And this is the mindset that we oftentimes see. Even if you look at if you look at the pattern itself, you look at the profile, it's very much like many other profiles. Let's work on becoming one partners. No, we're two different people. Yeah. And even if this is a partnership in which someone's got to lead, we already know who has to pay the cost for that. So it's going to have to be him. And she's saying, no, don't lead, but okay, start holding on to your money and watch her say, oh, hell no, that's not a man. So I can already tell that she's looking for that one-sided arrangement. She's much like my students. She is refusing to follow, but she's demanding the rewards for being led. She's refusing while demanding its rewards. And
Nadira, we got to touch on Nadira real quick. She's saying that if you have tats, you're unsavory. Well, our beloved Rasul Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam, said, Allah curses like 7 categories of people regarding tattoos. The one that does the tattoo, the one that gets the tattoo, the one that pays for it, the one that recommends it, the one that compliments it even. Okay. It's the one that the Uber that drives you to it. You know what I mean? Whatever. Allah curses so many groups of people, up to 7, that when it regarding tattoos. So if I say unsavory, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said cursed. Okay. So with this being said, yes, women that go in and men that go in, and men are more, man, men and women, they're both cursed. But we're speaking of this particular woman that has these 2 small tats. I can't compliment the tats. I wouldn't be a believer. I can't say the tats are okay because I wouldn't be a believer. So I have to take on the same attitude that called ash-shakhsiyya al-islamiyya, the Islamic personality that Allah orders. Love what he loves and hate what he hates. Allah hates it, so I hate it. Now, when it comes to that, this person that goes in and endures that pain of that needle, that sometime unsanitary needle that could pass on a fatal sickness upon you, but you get it to get drawings on your body. You get your mama's name on your chest, like you're gonna forget your mama's name. You get your child's name on your shoulder. Somebody dies, and you put their name on your leg. This is unsavory behavior. This is unsavory behavior, and me saying unsavory is certainly not as strict as Rasulullah ﷺ said. That is a curse action. Now, some of us have tattoos before Islam. That means that we were of a mentality before Islam. But those Muslims that after they take Shahada shows off their tattoos, and they are posting, they don't wear long sleeves. They are posting these tattoos. I've seen Muslims just take a pose and sisters were like, MashaAllah. Oh, you like that? Okay. You like something that the Rasul Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam doesn't like. I mean, and that, of course, that's common these days. So she said, wow, she can't make a mistake. Well, I defended her. I think that she just typed an R instead of a T. Maybe she swiped. I don't know what she did. Nevertheless, oh my God, it's too late for her. It's not too late for her. Who says it's too late for her? I didn't hear the brother Black Mind put in the hellfire. I certainly didn't put in the hellfire. No one said it's too late for her. Tattoos are unsavory for men and women. And unsavory is a lighter word than cursed. I think everyone in the room would agree, even you.
I'm going to help you out, Nadira. As far as making a mistake, listen. I'm not going to lighten up on the spelling errors for people that speak English as a first language, or really for anybody in their own first language. Now, if English is a second language, no biggie. But what it does show is that she's not checking what she's doing. This is a lazy attitude towards finding somebody, to be honest. Men are never allowed to have a lazy attitude towards finding a wife, Nadira. No man is excused for that when he's Muslim, when he's not. Only rich guys might be excused for that. A celebrity might be. But for most people, we're not allowed to take on a lazy attitude. We are scrutinized, and you all call that having standards. And then when we turn around and we start looking at things that are much easier than the standards we got to meet, then we're told not to have standards. We're not going to tolerate that, Nadira, and you're not going to tolerate if we tell you all not to have standards. You're going to say, no, she should know her worth and she should have standards. I can tell by your comments that you would say something like that. So what I'm promoting, Nadira, is simply that we be fair to each other, that we have this give and take attitude. This is what I am promoting. And this is what really a lot of men are promoting. The reason why there's such a thing as a red pill is because men were conditioned through television by mothers, by aunts, grandmoms, sisters, and even oftentimes by other men, older men, to not have standards similar to the ones that we have to meet to be able to, let's say, date if we're not Muslim, let alone marry if we are. So there's nothing about it that's easy on men, unless you're just abnormally tall, wealthy, famous, or something like that. There's nothing about this that's easy. What we're looking at are things that are easy for women to meet, and we're getting nothing but pushback, and that's all we're getting. So the thing is that even though she's 45, I'm not saying it's too late for her, but understand this, Nadira. I was young 30 years ago, and for the most part, there was no chance 30 years ago. And most guys got to go through this. Now, how old is she again? Saad Imam,
She's
45?
45, 45.
45. Okay. Now, Nadira, that's my age. That does not, there are a lot of men that'll say, I don't care if I'm 70. If we're married, she's got to be 25. There are a lot of men that would say that. So that means that the best thing to do would be to marry these guys when these guys are young. That's also when they don't have a lot of money. Most of you ladies are not saying, well, get them when they're young. Most of you all are saying, wait till he gets a bag or wait till he achieves. Wait until pretty much there's no financial struggle ever and no chance of a financial struggle. So what I'm gonna say is that when it comes to her being 45, that's not too late for me. But I have certain standards that she's gonna have to meet. And when I say what these standards are, because other men are going to look at 45 and say that's decades too late. When I say very little that they got to meet, I'm told that that's chauvinistic and wrong and everything else. So in reality, we men are not out here trying to oppress the ladies. What we're saying is we're not going to continue trying to be Superman just to qualify for a Lois Lane with an attitude. That's all.
And Sister Nadira, you are more than welcome to come on at any time uh, if you would like to. You're welcome to come on. No one is forbidding you from the show. Your opinion is valued. It may not be agreed with, and you have to understand the difference between the two. Sometimes opinions are valued, but they're not agreed with. Your opinion is valued, because you're an intellectual human being. But we may not agree with that opinion, and that's fine, because you don't have to agree with our opinions, but you have to agree with the evidence and the reality. You have to agree with the evidence and the reality. It is not sooner to marry older women. That's not a sunnah. That's not a sunnah. That's something that is allowed, mubah, choice, permissible, but it's not a sunnah as in, it's not a sunnah. So again, well, anyway, whenever you are willing, able to come on and voice your opinion, you can pick the topic, and we'll go with your topic. We'll advertise your topic. Is there anything in particular that you would like to discuss? Anything in particular you would like to discuss? Inshallah, you can come on and give your opinion, and we will discuss it. We'll be cordial, kind, affable. We won't be rude, but nevertheless, I know we touch nerves because we're talking about a certain group. We're talking about a certain arena of women, and not all of them altogether. Of course, Allah has blessed me to keep my sanity because I know that this is really the minority of them, but it's becoming too common, because even though it's a minority of them that act that way, the majority of them allow it and support it, and the majority of them would not vilify it, just like with the police. I don't believe there's any good police. Why? Because the good ones don't tell on the bad ones. They have a thin blue line that you cannot cross. Okay? And until the good speak out against the bad, all of you are bad. And that's the rule. And I'm not saying all women are bad. I'm just saying that the majority allow that minority to function freely, speak freely. They watch their shows when they move their necks and put their fake nails in men's faces and fight each other, on those shows. That's masculine behavior. Women should not want that for other women, just as men don't want that, in a woman, and any man that wants that, he's sus, he's sus. He probably short of being with a man. He wants a woman that behaves like one. But nevertheless, that was my DDP, delusional dating profile of the week. And inshallah, next week I'll have another one. They got some real juicy ones out there. Some of it has to do with bestiality. Damn near bestiality. Anyway, that's all that I have. Hey, bruh.
You're not joking about that, huh?
Bruh.
Oh,
It's almost there. You can take it more than one way. These profiles.
oh,
They want to put their animals in the mix. Inshallah, we'll talk about it next week.
oh my goodness. One thing that I did, I suspected was going to happen, was a rise in that sort of thing amongst Western ladies, because when they start talking about what they want in men, when as they've gotten more open about what they wanted in men, and really, to be honest with you, even before they were really open about it, what they wanted was pretty much inhuman anyway. I mean, even the whole Superman Lois Lane complex, that's beyond bestiality. That's interest in an alien. That's a regular woman being interested in an extraterrestrial, and he's the stand in from this particular planet. It's very unrealistic, but a lot of women do have that mindset. A lot of men have it too. A lot of women feel that the man should be Superman to qualify. A lot of men feel that they should be superhuman to qualify, and it's not actually human. But since you got plenty of animals that are stronger than human beings, and I suspected that there was going to be a rise in this sort of thing. Now, the only thing is, in America, it's still highly illegal. So for them to advertise something like that should get them locked up right off the bat, because they're advocating breaking the law, and that in and of itself is illegal in the states. So I'm shocked that they haven't said something like this and gotten locked up for it. I know in Scandinavia they got brothels for that sort of thing, but in the states it's still you go to jail for that, and you do get some prison time for something like that.
Well, it's not overt. So but you gotta you'll hear it through innuendo. You'll get the feeling through innuendo. Of course, the dog sleeps on the bed. There was a Muslim brother who a sister I was a ward for. She was my ward. I was a ward. She was my ward. The brother said, "Hey, I fought in a war. I got these issues. The dog stays on the bed. And she's like, I can't marry you with a dog on the bed." He said, "Well, it's either the dog or it's gonna be nothing." And she said, "Okay, well, I choose nothing." But nevertheless, we'll talk about it, inshallah, more. I thank you as always, brother, coming on. You make for a very good show. You take a lot of pressure off of me. Cause see, I don't even have to know nothing and bring you on and let you. SubhanAllah. I don't have to know nothing. It makes it very easy.
Well, thanks for the compliment, and may Allah make me deserving of it. Jazakallah khair. I'm glad to do it if I can, and thank you for having me on the show. You certainly helped me wake up even earlier this morning, and may Allah bless you. And hopefully, I was able to benefit someone in the audience, including Mrs. Nadira, including her. I hope I was able to help out in the long run, inshallah, because you certainly helped me out.
I would like to have her on, inshallah, both of you on, and we can clear up a lot of because she seems to think there's a man versus, it's gender wars. And if you let the kuffar tell it, genders run the gamut. Genders are sundry. It's not two. Two and a few anomalies. It's actually fluid. Let them tell.
Yeah, they want to be spectrum. Yeah, that's good luck with that, because they have, and scientists have said that billions of years ago there were some primitive life forms that either appeared in more than two genders, or that they can't really tell. They're not sure, and fossils don't leave. There's a whole lot that fossils really can't tell you, but they have said that at this point, currently, there are a few that can change gender. Some organisms can change gender, but that they can't come up with a third. That's not there anymore.
Yeah, even the ones that are asexual, they have both organs in order to, to bring forth, offspring. So you're still dealing with two, even if it's 2 in 1.
Yeah.
Don't want to say that too loud. Christians might start praying to these animals. If you say 2 in 1. Nevertheless, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the viewers as always. I pray that we've been of some benefit. I am a bit comedic, so you got to separate the comedy from the haq, and sometimes the haq comes in the form of comedy, inshallah ta'ala. So I appreciate you all as always. You are my brothers, my sisters. I love you all, fi sabilillah, and for the sake of Allah ta'ala. So thank you. Jazakallah khairun. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.